Heels, where female entrepreneurs thrive. I'm Deborah, your host. Welcome to the show. Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to be back. This week, we have a fantastic guest. You guys are going to know she's such a Deborah guest. She is a digital marketing and analytics expert, and we are going to dive deep into vanity metrics. You guys know how I feel about vanity metrics, and talk to her about what that is. And she is going to help us figure out how to use all of our metrics to help grow our business and which ones are the most important. So I hope you guys are ready. Get your pen and paper out. We're going to learn stuff. So it's products and services and maximize their return on investment. Please, everyone, welcome Philippa to Deals with Heels.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you
Yay!
very much. Thank
So
you.
excited to
Actually,
have you.
I've just realized that I probably shouldn't be on the show because I really don't like wearing heels.
Well, we don't discriminate necessarily. When Christina and I first started, we hadn't met very long. We'd only known each other about 3 months, and we decided to do a podcast. And one of the things that we bonded over were our love of high heels. I'll be honest, I'm barefoot right now. So I'm in the studio in my house. And so, it's hard to wear the shoes when you're in your own house. And so we have always said that we don't discriminate against what kind of heel you're wearing. And we've had all kinds of professions. We had a promotion the first season where one of the things Christina and I would do is we would, if something good happened, didn't matter if it was a sale, just something good. Maybe I overcame something that I'd been working towards, and I had successfully navigated that situation. This time, whatever it was, we would take a picture of our foot and whatever heel we were wearing. And it wasn't always a heel. And we would do that back and forth. So the first season, we had lots of women send us pictures of their heel and their success stories and what they did. And we would highlight them on the air during episodes. So we had all kinds. We had combat boots. We had some really cool high-heeled tennis shoes and all
High-heeled tennis
kinds.
shoes?
Yeah, they were really, I'm probably out of the age group maybe, but I thought they were really cute. And so all different kinds. We'll accept yours as well. So,
Okay.
all
Very
right.
good.
Before we dive into the stuff that lots of people probably don't enjoy talking about as much as you and I, tell the audience about your own personal entrepreneurial journey and how you got into loving analytics so much.
Well, actually, as you can hopefully hear, I'm originally from London. I moved to the US and I had a green card, and I actually ended up saying, I'm actually horrible at working for people. Um, this is the entrepreneur thing, right? Isn't it?
Right, it is.
I'm very good at working for myself. I decided, it was really clear to me, having spent some time in corporate life. I worked for Deloitte in London before I moved here. I got to the point where I said, you know what? The performance appraisal that I really want is from a client who says either, you were great, you really helped, and either I want to work with you again, or I want to send you to a friend. I want to refer you. And that to me is a meaningful performance appraisal that is the sort of thing I want. And I don't like people telling me when I can and can't work. So I have a dog. I like to be able to take my dog out when I feel like it. And, so I'm a real, like you said, you were a rebel when we were chatting
Yes,
before.
bow down. That is me too. I really
So,
dislike being told what to do. I
right,
I was in corporate America for a couple of decades, and I did it.
right.
You
Yeah.
do what you
And
have
it
to
was
do.
fantastic training. I think I spent 3 years at Deloitte, and the skills that I learned definitely still paying off for me. So, I'm not knocking it from that perspective, but I think you get to a point where you just want. And of course, there's the downside. You don't know how much you're going to make necessarily all the time. If you go on holiday, you're paying for it yourself. So we know all that.
And
Um,
churn. You have the
right,
happiest clients ever, and they sell their business. And
right,
now they're not your
right,
client anymore because they got absorbed up into a bigger business and
right,
all
right.
of the things. But man, just leaning into it and accepting that, man, everything's going to be okay because it always is. And boy, it's great to have that personal freedom. I have 2 dogs. They're my
There
babies
you
living
go.
at home, and I love them, and they're off, hopefully not going to bark, and everything's shut down so they don't bark at the people
Right.
walking by and all the things. So now you are really big into analytics and you talk about hidden gems in analytics. And I am a sales and marketing expert. For me, I meet with a lot of business owners that have been doing different types of tactics, marketing tactics without success. And because I asked, so what kind of adjustments did you make along the way to try to figure out where the missing element is in your marketing sales
Mhm.
funnel?
Mhm.
And they're like, "I don't know. They showed me. I was getting all these impressions and da da da." And so for me, I mean, I've boiled it down to I'm so basic. I'm like, listen, there's only one metric that matters. And did that person get any lift in their business? And if they didn't, then use the other metrics to figure out why the hell they didn't. But I've gotten so frustrated by it all that I
Right.
need a clear mind. I need a clear mind, Philippa, for you to come in and tell us. For me, those vanity numbers are, for me, are tools to help me see what's happening with my advertising and my content and where to go forward. But like I said, I've almost got an emotional death spot over it because it's become such a pet peeve that I am ready to sit down and learn and figure it all out. So please talk to us about vanity numbers and how we can find all of our hidden gems.
Okay, so let's make sure everybody understands what we mean by vanity metrics. So, when you log into, I mostly work with Google Analytics, right? So when you log into a Google Analytics screen, if you've never done it, you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it because you log into that thing and you see just tons and tons and tons of numbers and graphs and charts and who knows what. And it's completely overwhelming. It's completely overwhelming. And if you're overwhelmed, don't feel stupid because it is. And I think Google Analytics has, I've lost count how many default reports there are that, even if you don't customize it, you get all these numbers. And so if you don't have a way into that, if you don't have questions and things that you need to know, where are you supposed to start? And so a lot of people glaze over or they look for something really easy that makes them feel good,
The
which is where we
dopamine
get
hit,
to
right? The
where we get to
dopamine hit.
vanity.
Woo, look at that big number.
Right. So they say a really easy question like, did we get more visitors this week than we did last week or last month or whatever we're looking at? And if the answer is yes, they say, oh, great, we must be doing it right. I can go away and do something much more fun and close the whole thing down. Right. And that's what we call a vanity metric because that number, did we get more visitors this week? Doesn't matter unless they're the right type of visitor. If you got, 1,000 more visitors this time than you did last time, and none of them bought anything, or none of them signed up for your newsletter, and none of them watched your videos or did anything you want them to do, they're a complete waste of time for you and any money that you spent on getting them. Right.
1,000%. I mean, it's the same as on social media that we have talked about before, that just working for likes and impressions, you have to consistently get millions of them to monetize that content to be able to live. So
Right.
let's talk about what do you really need? And so the website
Right.
level is really important. And I think it gets overlooked. I can show you how I had thousands of clicks to your website. But if your website didn't funnel them in so that you got a lead to talk to and sell, then the advertising did its job, the website didn't. And that piece is so missing. I have even had people that didn't have any analytics pixels installed on their website at all from a professional website
Mm-hmm.
company.
Yeah.
Not even Google Analytics Pixel. The
Right.
only
Right.
analytics pixel on there was for the digital banner paid search ads that I put on there, but I didn't have anything to compare it to because they didn't have it. It's mind blowing. So
And, let's talk about social media for a second because a lot of people spend a fair amount of money on social media advertising. And so we're talking about this vanity metric thing. And you might see a ton of people coming into your website and we can see where they come from in analytics. So we can see they're from Facebook ads or Instagram or whatever. But the point is, and so what? This is the big question in analytics is so what? And if we look at those numbers and we see that all those people took one look at your site and went away, then all of the money that you spent on getting them there is a complete waste of time. And I see this more often than people want me to tell them. because a lot of people are sort of sold on, they're being told that social media is really important, so
It's
they
not
do
that it's
this.
not important. It's not that it's not
Right.
important, but
No, but
it
the
is
question
a
is,
tool to generate traffic to your website where it's got to do its job, and it's gotta be
but
the
yeah,
right
but
traffic. It's gotta
well,
be the
and
right
there's
traffic.
exactly, but there's two things going on, I think. One is that when people are on social media, they're generally not looking for solutions to their problems. They're watching news and cat videos and stuff like that. So whereas when somebody's in a search engine like Google search, they are looking for solutions to the problems. Or if they're reading your newsletter, they're connecting with you specifically and proactively,
Or they're
which is
clicking on a
why,
digital search ad,
right,
even one of those banner ads. They're clicking on
right.
that because they're interested right then in that directional advertising.
And so when we look in analytics at the 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 usefulness of each traffic source in terms of getting people who are interested in what you want them to do, organic search and email are always the most useful, almost, well, yeah, almost like 99% of the time, because those people are actually wanting answers to questions or to connect or to see what you have to say. Social media is often very low quality traffic. And so it's really important, if you're doing social media ads, to tag your ads properly so you can tell exactly which campaign did people come from, which platform and which campaign. And you can do that with proper tagging, so that then you can start to get some clues about, are there platforms that work better for me in getting good visitors? Are there types of postings that work better? Are there types of messaging or imaging or whatever it might be? And then you can do more of that, and then it will hopefully pay off for you. But this is why analytics is really valuable, because you can do that. Instead of just throwing money at it, you can be much more intelligent than that.
Let's back up just a second and talk specifically about tagging, because I think a lot of people listening think of tagging as, ooh, I tagged Philippa in my photo.
Right.
Let's talk about what it is when you're using it for analytics and how you do it effectively.
So, sometimes you see a URL that's the web address in the top of your browser, and then you see a question mark, and then you see a whole load of squiggly stuff, right? It doesn't mean anything to you. It's not the address of the site. And you might see, quite a few little question mark things. And those are called tags or UTM parameters. And they will do this job that we've just been talking about, which is to say which platform and which campaign and so on. And so what you do is, when you create the link to your website, either from your social media post or from your email newsletter or whatever, you add those tags to the end of the link, and that will do what we're talking about. And there are tools like Google has a thing called URL Builder, which and you put in stuff in English and it will make you a link with all of that stuff correctly configured from the techie point of view. And you can, then it's got a URL shortener, so you can shorten it.
So you guys
But
don't have to figure out those question marks. You
yeah,
just have to tell it what you want, and it does it all
exactly.
for you and creates
Yeah.
that link.
And the important thing, the really crucial thing to do, is to be really, really consistent in how you create those tags, because Google is, or I should say Google, the analytics programs are really, really, you know, you have, like, if you capital letters, for example, if you use Facebook with a capital F and Facebook with a small f, it will see that as a different platform. So once you decide how you're going to name things, you need to write, and a lot of people just create themselves a little spreadsheet, right? So that
And
it's
then it's easy.
always
You don't have to redo
right.
the tag. You're just copying it over every time. So that's even great for time management.
And the thing that's nice about this is, say you're doing, I don't know, a spring promotion, right? And you're advertising it on Facebook, and you're advertising it on Instagram, and maybe you're even doing some TikTok stuff around it, and you've got it in your newsletter. So what's really helpful is to name the campaign like May promotion or whatever it might be, but to again use exactly the same label across all of your different marketing platforms. So that, again, this is the point, you can start seeing which platform generated the best visits for you.
So, is it the same tag across all of them or an
Well,
individual
no, because the tag
will
also
show
tells
anyway?
us
Right.
which is the source. So the source or the medium, is going to be email, or it's going to be social media or whatever. So that bit will change. But what I'm saying is the campaign name should be absolutely consistent.
It's really important. So if you can't find it, don't just make a new one because that's the easiest thing to do
Well, and that's why the spreadsheet is really helpful, because then you can, see what you've already done and do it again.
because it would be too hard to remember it every time.
Right,
But it also
right,
makes it easy for you to go back and look how a previous campaign performed and how maybe you could modify it moving forward to get better results or how your all of that stuff's really important. So,
right,
thank you
right.
for talking about tagging. It can be really confusing to the simple entrepreneur that's struggling even to put their ad together. And it's so important,
Yeah. And once you get a system down, it's not that hard.
especially if you're just taking it out of the spreadsheet and putting it on your link
Right,
every time. That
right,
actually makes it infinitely easier than having to redo them over and over again.
right.
Perfect. You're so awesome. Thank you about that. Also, what kind of analytics should we be focusing on instead of just traffic?
So, as I said earlier, the thing to do is you forget the analytics altogether and look at your website. You've got to obviously really understand your business, which hopefully everybody listening to this does. Like, what is your business actually trying to do? And then look at your website and say, what is your website trying to do? Because on every page of your site, there should be a clear outcome that you're looking for. So you probably don't want people just to read your blog post and go away, or maybe you do, but you're more likely to want them to be, reading the blog post and then going to see what else you do. So what is it you want them to do? Is it signing up? Is it, well, obviously A, buying something if you sell directly on your site? B, is it a lead generation? Is it a newsletter sign up? Is there a video that if they watch that video, they're going to learn a whole lot about your business? Because we can measure how much of that video they watch. But the key thing is to understand all these things that, marketing would call it calls to action. Because if you're not directing people to do what you want them to do, and this is where I do go back to where you were saying, your website's got to perform as well, right? If you know what you want to be happening on every page and it's not happening, now you've got a potential problem and you want to start asking questions like, why is this why is it happening? For example, as pages get longer and longer because of mobile scrolling, one of the things that I see a lot of is that people don't scroll. They don't scroll all the way down. They get bored, they give up. Right now, if you've got a lot of really important content or really important calls to action that are further down on a page and people aren't scrolling down there, they're not going to see it. End of story. Right. So they're
That's
not
true.
going
I had
to.
one the other day and it was like I
Right.
could not, I just wanted to get to the footer.
Right.
And I couldn't, I gave up. I was like,
You
"What the
gave up.
heck?"
Right.
And I feel like sometimes they don't pay attention to that's fine on the desktop version because it's
Hmm.
wide and it all fits, but all
Right.
of that info is gonna be squished in the mobile version,
Right.
and it's gonna be this big, long scroll. I think people don't realize it's gonna do that.
So one of the things that we can do, like Google Analytics, unfortunately has a really stupid or strange default setting on it where it will measure how far people go, but it will only tell you if they get 90% of the way down the page. And 90% on a long page is a long way down.
It is. Sometimes 2/3 is
So,
good enough.
right. So one of the things that I love about Google Analytics is that you can customize it. And people like me will customize it so that it will tell you when somebody is, for example, 25% down, 50% down, 75, and then 90. So now we know a whole lot more about how far down do they typically get. And we want to make sure that anything that's really, really crucial that they see on that page has got to be above that.
What do you
Now,
think, like, that average is there for how far they go down?
that's a how long it was a piece of string question. It depends. There's also another tool that I'm using a lot now. Microsoft put it out. It's called Clarity, and it's a screen recording tool, right? And you can actually integrate it with Google Analytics. So what that does is actually record somebody's session so that you can see exactly what their screen looked like, what was the size of the screen, what content was visible on their screen at any time, and you can watch them scroll or stop. You can watch them starting to fill something in. You can't see the personal details of what they fill in, obviously, because it has to be anonymous.
But you can see
But
what
so,
their can you see where their mouse is hovering?
yes,
Like, do they think
exactly.
about, "Ooh,
You can see
sneaky, sneaky, Philip."
how they're interacting. Well, and it's all anonymized. Like, I don't know who it is, but it will tell
Right.
you how they got there. Like, this is a Facebook visitor or whatever.
It's
And
like
so
an
if somebody,
anonymous, eavesdropper on
right.
what people are doing on your website, and that what cool knowledge to have.
Well, it is because again, it tells you, and because you can see the shape of the screen, again, it's really good clues as to where they're interacting, where they drop off, where they get bored, how it works for them.
And if it was
So
mobile or desktop because of the
exactly.
size of
Yeah.
the screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. I've seen some emails on that and honestly, I haven't opened them to read about it yet just from time, but
Hmm.
that's fantastic. Is there anything else that it can do?
Which there
The
is.
clarity, it just really does the recording from what people are doing on your website.
Yeah, and then it's got some nice sort of little diagnostic tools. So, it will give you, it will automatically identify, these are visitors these are recordings, the ones you might want to watch. I mean, you can filter it by long visit durations, et cetera, so that you
Okay.
can,
So I don't
especially if
have
you
to
have a
weed
lot of, you don't want to watch every single one, right?
and I
But you
don't
want to
wanna
get,
have to weed through it. I
right,
think it's cool if they have an AI that'll say, "Oh, this one's hitting your parameter. You may wanna look at these. These were the most interesting."
right,
I love that. Anything that I'm somebody that I like all of the information, but I also have the personality of that competitive and I want it now. Instead of like
yes,
that pure thinker that wants it all, I'm going to hold it and I'm going to contemplate about it and think, and all of those things. I would much rather have know which parts of it so that I don't have to like the thinker sometimes wants to dig in themselves. That's why
right,
you can't close that sale yet because they've got a
right,
lot of thinking to do. But I have this other competitive part of my personality that's equal to the thinker. And
right.
so it makes me want that info now. I want it accurate and so, all of the so that's perfect for someone like me that and lots of entrepreneurs that don't know what to look for when they weed through. Also, that here's the stuff that we've identified is important for you.
The thing is, that's what I'm saying. You need to be looking at it with questions in your mind. Like, I know that I've got this really important call to action or this really important video, and it's here on the page. I want to know how many people are getting to it. And I want to know how many people are watching it and how much of it are they watching? Are they watching all of it or are they stopping? That's how you want to be thinking about it, not just, oh, I wonder what's going on. Because then you will get overwhelmed.
Yes. What I get a lot of questions, and there's all kinds of research out there for a variety of different things. What do you think is the best place to put video on your website?
Everywhere.
Everywhere? Some people are still of the mindset that in some places, if it's slow to load, they'll X all the way out. And for me, I'm always like, well, don't make any of it slow to load. Why can't it all? Because that's the impatient part of my brain.
Right.
Is there a place that's the most effective?
Again, I'm not sure that there's a one size fits all answer to that. And I think video can be used in different ways. I mean, I actually get annoyed when there's a very long video. I know that the answer to a question I have is somewhere there. And at that point, honestly, I really, especially actually even with webinars, I actually really appreciate a transcript so that I can just scan it to the point where they're saying the bit I want to see.
Honestly, years ago, I would print out the transcript of a podcast because I didn't have time to listen to it and I didn't have it where I could listen to it in my car yet. And I could read it faster than they could talk about it. So I have
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
reading thing too a little
Yes.
bit. There's this I like that where you can scan the transcript and go to the exact point.
But a shorter video, especially, for businesses where there's a relationship that's really important. So I'm not just buying widgets from you. Say you're a coach, or somebody or a massage therapist. I mean, somebody that I'm going to actually have a connection with. Then
Right.
I think video is really valuable for that person to introduce themselves so that I can sort of get an idea of who they are. And, do I think we'll click and that kind of thing, right? Do I trust them? Which is a really important question.
And I had a guest in season one, and I do sales coaching with buying personalities. So you can tailor your messaging towards and your communications towards how that person likes to communicate. And I had a woman as a guest, and she could do it from video and online presence and
Right.
even profile pictures, which I thought was super cool. But it comes back into the other side of it too, that you're projecting that out towards people as well and being able to get that human element, right? That everybody loves that connection and that authenticity. So
Right.
it's the dichotomy between the two, the reason that it works. So it's
Right.
important to have it there so that your people are able to see what you're all about. Even
Right.
if they might want to try to talk to you. Right? There's some people that, okay, but I don't really want to talk to people about it. Well, that's okay. You don't have to talk to them, but let them get to know you to see your brand and
It's funny that you should say that because it's more, I mean, I had some business owners say that to me recently as well. I don't want to talk to them. But what is interesting about analytics, and we're talking about the data, the numbers that, relate to your website, and that all tells you what's going on, but it doesn't tell you why. And I mean, I think this business owner, I think he had a free trial of an app and there were people signing up for the free trial and then nobody, continued or whatever. I mean, something was clearly going wrong and the analytics aren't going to tell you what that is. And I said, have you asked them? And that was exactly what
did you ask them why they haven't? For me, that is like you're getting them there, but you're not, once they get there, whatever they're looking for, whatever hooked them that got them to go, they didn't feel it on that end, right?
right, right,
The interest didn't grab them and you can get them there, but you also got to keep them
right.
there and keep them interested on that end of the content as well.
Well, but if you're getting a lot of engagement but no outcomes, I mean, I think at some point you have to go to some customers you trust or people and try to do more than just look at numbers to figure it out. And I think that's an important thing to point to make.
It is, and I think people will gladly tell you. I have found that to be true. When I ask a
Right,
specific question, people will be like, oh, and they'll just tell you the truth, especially if they don't feel pressure from it. And they're just, I'm trying to understand. And I think that the clarity might help too. Like, where did they go on your page? Did they even consider buying something, or did they just read that one thing? And I think that could be helpful too, that
right.
tool. Wow, so much stuff. That's so fantastic. So, when you work with a client, you're really going through all of these things. You look at their existing analytics, and do you do web design or you make recommendations?
No, I don't do any web design. I don't do any SEO. I used to do SEO. I can't stand it. It's just too detailed.
Well, it's gotten better because now
Yes,
AI,
yes,
you don't have to go search it all out and try to figure out what changes were made. AI can inform you back on what those changes are. I mean, sure, it's still really tedious. And that's not my thing either, but it's
right,
infinitely easier, I think, than it used to be
right.
just because of AI can give you a list of what you need to update. You don't have to go
Yeah.
figure it out.
But so no, I mean, obviously I have referrals and colleagues and so on, but I don't do that work myself. I'm much more interested in the strategy, which is obviously driven by the analytics, but I'm sort of big picture person. And I'll say, look, you're not doing enough SEO or your SEO keywords aren't focused enough, or, we need more of this kind of social media, but I don't implement.
And I think that's perfect. I think that is part of what's missing is somebody to help a business owner or an entrepreneur strategize, what can I do? What can I change? What do I need? And it's hard and you can't expect a content creator to come in and look at Google Analytics and tell you why your content isn't performing because that's not what they do. They're
Hmm.
creative. They make contents. I think it's really important element of the process of running a business and your full marketing plan to look at the research and the data and the analytics and have someone that can advise you on how to move
Right.
forward with it.
And I should say that there are times when I feel quite creative. I mean, I am a nerd, but I can also, you talked about hidden gems. I mean, I have client stories where we've actually identified opportunities for new products or services based on analytics data, like what people put into the site search.
Tell us an example. We'll end on an example and then get your info.
Sure.
Putting you on the spot. You got one. I know you do.
Well, for example, I worked with an industrial wax manufacturer, and they were very well known actually, and they actually made industrial grade wax that they sold globally, and they had an amazing presence in search because they did very, very well in SEO, and they realized that they had a load of people coming to their website looking for small amounts of beeswax, consumers basically, who wanted to make their own candles.
About to say, I wonder
Right.
if it's beeswax.
Yeah,
I love it.
beeswax, for example, and they made beeswax, but on industrial scales, right? They did not do B2C. But then we realized clearly, it was clear that there were so many visitors, of who were consumers
On
that we
there looking
actually,
around for a smaller quantity. What, I'll have to get a ton of it? I can't just
well,
get
obviously, right. They just didn't, they don't sell to consumers, right? They only sell
right.
to other, yeah. So we actually, they ended up, it was great. They created a little side business where they directed consumers immediately off to this little side business where they sold small amounts of duck wax and beeswax and what have you. And because they did so well in search, it got a lot of traffic, and it was very easy to do fulfillment for. Yeah, and it just basically sort of ran itself. I mean, obviously they had a couple of people on it, but it wasn't a big deal. But it just made, a little side business that just generated a nice amount of regular income.
And expand their brand to consumers that, the chemicals and candles and all of the contribution to our respiratory health. And I love that.
Right,
But what a perfect example of what you can find out by having an expert come and help you, one, set up your analytics, because based on even what I see, which is such a small percentage, what I would work with personally, no one has very much of it and let out set up it, to look at on their
right,
website.
right.
I have a good friend, they install like 13 different analytic pixels, and then I've got all the way the other end of the spectrum that these people don't install any. And honestly, you just can't work with somebody that doesn't even put Google Analytics in there.
Well, but then not only do you have to have it running, but you actually have to look at it.
Yes, you have to look at it and understand it. And so that is
Right.
what Philippa does. Tell us how our audience can get in touch with you if they're interested in your coaching services, or even just finding out more, which is going to be, guess what, guys? Go to her website, and then she'll know what you're doing and all the things.
Yeah, and actually, I'm very excited to tell you I have a book coming out in about a month. It's called Website Wealth, and it's going to be exactly what we're talking about. No pie charts, no graphs, just how to think about this, how to approach it. Lots and lots of stories like the one I just told you. So hopefully by the time, I don't know when you're going to put this out, but hopefully my book will be out by then. So look for Website Wealth.
It will be maybe just around launching. I think I'm about 4 or 5 weeks out from recording,
Excellent.
so it's gonna be perfect
Excellent.
timing for you. I can't wait. If you need beta readers, send one to me, but I can't wait to get it, and I will send it out for people to link to also. You probably don't have the sales link yet, but when you get it, send it to me, and when I send the stuff out, I will include it in as well. That's super exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm pretty excited myself. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn. So, yes, I'd be very happy to hear from any of your listeners. Oh, and there is a free book on my website, an ebook, I should say, with 5 stories. I think one of them is the one I just told you, but, just literally some stories, again, without techie stuff, to just sort of inspire you. Here are things we found in the analytics, to sort of where you could look at it and say, I wonder if that's happening for me.
It gets you thinking, and at least open your mind to what you can find if you
Right.
get someone to help you, or if you get Philippa to help you specifically. That is not my specialty. So even then, I mean, what fantastic knowledge. And I will link to all of her information and her new book when it comes out, and of course the free ebook, all in show notes. Also, you can link to all of my stuff as usual in show notes. You can link to this website, dealswithhills.com, my agency website, hexagonmedia.net, and of course to my free ebook that's always available. And you can link to it, 5 Steps to Having a Mindset for Success. So until next week, Philippa, you were an amazing guest. So much great information. I could have you explain it to all of us for hours. We just don't have enough time. So please reach out to Philippa on LinkedIn and her website. I'm definitely going to check out her free ebook because I'm interested in all the stories that she has to sell. So thank you very much for coming on the show. Until next week, everyone, we're out.